Hello and good morning. Welcome to the Walk Off, everybody. I'm Scott Belford. Remember to hit that subscribe button on YouTube and the like that helps the channel here. We did actually just hit number 2 baseball podcast in Canada on Monday. So a big thank you to all you listeners and viewers. We do really appreciate it. Couldn't have done it without you. Let's push for number 1 here over the next few weeks. Very excited to have joining with me today's guest, first baseman with the Toronto Blue Jays organization, suiting up for the Vancouver Canadians for most of the 2024 season, Peyton Williams. Welcome to the walk-off, man. Thanks for taking the time.
I'm glad to be here.
Buddy, I'm excited to talk some baseball with you. Where are you right now? Where do you spend your off seasons?
Right now, usually I go to like Iowa City. I go back to Iowa. I work out there, but because of the fall league and how late my season went, I'm kind of just spending it at home. So back in my hometown, I got places to work out here, and it's gonna do the job for me while I'm taking my off time.
That's awesome, man. How often do you get back home?
Uh, Usually quite a bit. Where I usually stay is only about an hour and a half where I'm from, so I can pop back and forth pretty easily.
All right, Peyton, let's dive in here, all right? Because I want to start with the Arizona Fall League. Which you had a great showing at, by the way. Congratulations on that. In fact, you had a great season in general with Vancouver as well. Can you fill us in a little bit on what the vibes are like when you're in the AFL? Like, is it more developmental? Does it get really competitive? Does it feel more like spring training for everyone out there who has never experienced the Arizona Fall League? What is it like?
I think like at first you might be a little like pressing a little bit because you want to perform well. You know, it's like a big honor to be playing out there. You want to do well to like help your future. But then after the first week, it gets really relaxed. Like you start to get to know everybody. Everyone just goes out there, has fun. Nobody like thinks about how they're doing. Everyone's just trying to enjoy a couple more months of baseball. And so I think it's just really laid back. I mean, there's not a lot of like coaching that like they'll talk when they need to, but for the most part, they just let us go play. And I think that's what also makes it really fun is you just get to see like you get to talk and get pick the brains of other guys, and then like, when you need to, you'll get the coaching. But other than that, it's just go play and learn on your own, kind of.
So I'm curious, coming from high A, did it feel like a step up? Was pitching a little bit more competitive?
I would say so. I would say there's there were arms out there that were still developing. You can see that, and you can see like the future in those arms. But then you can see some arms that are like, all right, those guys could easily be in the big leagues in the next year. So it was fun to see and be able to face guys like that.
So when the organization sent you down to Arizona, was there something in particular that they were trying to get you to work on, or was it just in general more reps?
I think for the most part, it was just more reps just from missing the first 2 months of the season.
Yeah.
Just wanted to get me some more at bats. And then like I've been talking to the hitting coordinator. Big thing he wants me to do is try to elevate the ball a little more consistently. And so like obviously that's a great time to try to think about that because whatever happens out there doesn't mean as much as when it happens, in spring training and during the season. So I think that was a good time for me to work on that.
So that once you're there for a bit, the nerves go away. You're just playing baseball again, and you're just kind of
Mhm.
working on elevating the ball, and it's pretty chill.
Yeah. Because when you're first there, everyone's like, you don't really know, like, nobody knows how to like think or how to play or what's going to happen with the lineup just because everyone's from different teams. But then once you get kind of settled in a rhythm, it's a really fun time.
So Peyton, how does the accommodations work? Are they just sending you there and you're in a hotel for 6 weeks, or did you have a place to stay? What were you doing?
Oh yeah, so the Blue Jays got I was roommates with TJ Brock and they got us a place to stay. We kind of stayed over by Arizona State's campus. They gave us a nice place. TJ's also a great roommate. He's a enjoyable guy to spend 2 months with.
I love TJ. He's been on the show here before too. Glad to hear that you had kind of a good guy to room with. I know that you've obviously been playing baseball your whole life. Have you ever had a guy that you're sharing a room with where you're like, "Oh man, this guy." We don't need names.
Not that I can think of. I've never really had a
Nice.
guy that I've been like, I cannot room with him again. But so hoping to keep that alive. But for me, I just think for the most part, it's just a place to sleep. So
Yeah.
It, I until I see it, I really don't think he can get that bad.
So we are going to talk your time in Vancouver, and I definitely want to get more into the baseball side of stuff with you. But before we do that, my man, there's literally a current Reddit thread that is dedicated to you. Peyton, you've done it. The internet has declared you are the winner of the best nickname in baseball, the Iowa Meat Truck,
Yeah.
which is fantastic. Tell us and the listeners here how, why, what.
So my neighbor across the street here, he has a business, and one of the parts of the business was called the Iowa Meat Truck, where they would just, they'd take meats, they within a certain range, you'd order meats and they deliver it to you. So they gave me like my neighbor's trying to he's trying to advertise, so he gave me a shirt, and I took the shirt and I wore it to my end of year meeting with the coaches, and they all loved it. They all thought it was great. And so the manager, Brent LaValle up there said, next time I hit a double or a home run, I gotta honk the horn. And so I kept doing that. And then our announcer up in Vancouver, like he asked me in an interview, he's like, What is the horn? What are you honking?" Because he thought it was like honking a train. And I was like, "No, I'm honking the Iowa meat truck." He loved the story. And so he's every time something happened, he would always try to throw that in there. And so I think from him using it so much, it kind of like slowly started to grow. And yeah, I think that's the story of how the meat truck, the Iowa meat truck, got popular.
I love that, man. That's very funny. Vancouver, you spent time in, Florida, obviously, and then Arizona, and all for good reasons, right? I mean, obviously, were recovering from injury, and then you get called up to Vancouver, and then the opportunity to play in the Arizona Fall League. All good stuff, but let's face it, man, that is a lot of moving in 1 year, like just a lot of life stuff to need to deal with. Uh, did you struggle to feel, I don't know, settled in? I guess for the lack of a better word, or are you more of a wherever you may roam, you call home type of guy?
Um, I think usually it takes me a week or two to settle in, but then after that, like transition, it's pretty good. But for the most part, I think all the coaches that we have, they all do a really good job of organizing it so the transition can be as smooth as possible. Like they'll try to like they'll usually try to give you a little extra rest when you make those transitions. So I think they do a good job to making sure you're not feeling like tired from travel.
Did um did you enjoy your time in Vancouver? Was that your first time in Canada?
So I was in Vancouver last year as well. But yeah,
Right, that's right. I did see that.
that was my first time in Canada, and I thought Vancouver's a beautiful city. And I said like that's the one thing that's great about baseball too is like without baseball, I don't think I'd ever go to Vancouver. So I mean, it's great that baseball's taking me up to like the Northwest to see all those states and cities that I probably would have never seen otherwise.
Did you know what to expect going to Vancouver, or did it take you by surprise a bit?
It kind of took me by surprise. I was like, because like where we were located, we were like right next to a beach, couple minutes from downtown, and then hour drive from the mountains. Like it's a city that's got everything you want, and then it just caught yeah, that caught me by surprise.
Uh, did you enjoy the food and nightlife more in Florida, Arizona, or Vancouver?
Um,
Because they're talk about three different places.
yeah, for me, probably Vancouver, just because it was the one that I've gotten past my time where I'm not big on like the college party bars, like Vancouver,
Right.
and so Vancouver was probably the least like that because then like if we travel around, we'd go to like like we go to different bars, and that probably was the best one. But yeah, Arizona and Florida felt like a lot of like college type bars, and that's just not really my thing anymore.
When you're having a libation, are you a beer guy? Do you have a certain drink you're into?
Whenever I'm in Vancouver, I usually go to the Canadian is usually the go-to.
Nice. When in Rome, kind of thing.
Yes, yeah.
So how are you feeling at the plate after 2024? Because you had a pretty big year with Vancouver. You hit just under 300. You were showing some power, driving in runs. Definitely kind of the bat you want to have in the middle of an order. Uh, and then to go to the Arizona Fall League and literally hang with all the guys there too, like you were in the All-Star game. You looked good, right? Um 2024 had to left you feeling pretty confident going into next season.
Yeah, so I'm really liking where my swing is, and especially talking with the guys in the org, all the hitting guys. And so my plan is to like obviously take a little downtime, give myself a break, but then keep working, like keep just doing a small amount of hitting just to keep that feeling where it's at. Because I do like where it's at, so I want to keep that and try to build off that for next year. But then so be able to keep where I'm at, but also add in like the elevating the ball with what they want. So I think there's not a whole lot I want to change. I just want to keep building on what I have.
So you, my man, are, as they say in the biz, right? A natural lefty. You throw left, you hit left, you play first base. It's like they made you in a lefty lab. Um, I'm curious, did you always play first base, or was this something that they kind of directed to you towards as you kind of moved up the ranks because you throw left, or like I guess what I'm asking is, did you play other positions before you went into college ball?
No, I've been playing first base my entire life. I think the only time I don't play first base is I didn't play first base would be like Little League when they make you rotate positions.
I
But
love the way you
any
put that too. When they make you rotate,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
like, even then.
So, but any competitive baseball game, I have always been at first base ever since I was 6 years old.
I love that, man. That's so funny because I was really curious. I always like to ask lefties that question because, I know Spencer Horowitz has been on the show a few times and he's kind of similar in that, they really, but his story is the other way around, right? Like
Mhm.
they really wanted him, they directed him kind of to first base, which is funny to watch them now try and diversify where he
Get
can
him out of
play.
there. Yeah.
But yeah, I love the natural lefty there. So 6'5", 255 pounds is what Baseball Reference has you listed as, a very imposing frame, if you will, on the baseball diamond. But let's be serious, Peyton. Kind of an imposing frame in life. I had a buddy when I was going to college. Tommy John was his name, TJ, and he was very similar frame to you. And we used to go down by the river on the weekend, and we'd fish and we'd drink beer and that sort of thing, right? And we had a moment where we were driving through the path we always took, and a full tree had literally, there must have been a storm at some point that week and knocked it over. And I was turning the vehicle around, and he's like, let me try to move this. And it honestly seemed like the most impossible thing. And then, dude, he got out and literally slowly deadlifted this thing out of the middle of the road. Have you ever had a moment where, like, your size has come into an unorthodox, place of this is a good thing for me here?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head. The one that usually always helps being big is whenever we're going out or we're gonna go do something like go to a restaurant or something, if we order like an Uber or something, I always get the front seat by myself. That's probably the most common thing
Give the
that
guy with the long legs the extra room.
yeah, yeah, that's probably the most common thing that my size gets me, and I'll always be happy for that one.
You probably don't even recognize it when it's going on. You're just so used to having the size and that
Yeah,
extra bit of strength there, and other people are like, "Whoa!"
yeah. We'll like order an Uber. We'll be going out to eat. We'll order an Uber, and then we'll be walking to the car. Like, all right, let Peyton get in the front just every time, and I will never complain.
All right, let's talk your draft here a little bit because I am curious. You were obviously drafted in 2022. What I want to know is what stood out to you as the major differences going from collegiate ball to affiliate ball. Like, and I'm talking like the training facilities. Was there like a piece of equipment that maybe you just were like, holy shit, I didn't even know it could do that? Just like technology or whatever it is. What stood out to you when you first joined the Blue Jays organization?
Well, obviously, a big thing was like I thought Iowa's facilities were pretty good for for the circumstance of being like a Midwest school. Like it's always cold. You can't always go outside, but like the Blue Jays just had everything that Iowa had and more. And just I think like it also helps that like Iowa, they got to like split between like other sports and like you got to share a building with other sports, but then baseball or for the Blue Jays having everything and more for just baseball just kind of blew my mind. Like how nice like our player development complex is, like the hitting lab that was just crazy to me. And I think like just how many people like I thought like Iowa we had a lot of like student managers that helped out behind the scenes, but like the Blue Jays just have a crazy amount of like it's just a crazy amount of people working there, just trying to do whatever they can to help you be as successful as possible.
That's very cool. I know that we actually had, I don't even know if he's still the head of the mental performance department, but Robert DiBernardo we had on a couple years ago now. How much focus do they put on the mental side of the game there? And is it equally available to everyone? Like when you first got drafted, did you find that like maybe the attention wasn't, the microscope on your attention wasn't quite as let's say prevalent as a AAA guy who looks like he's about to move up? Or is it all pretty even and all of the facilities and mental side of stuff allowed to everyone?
I think it's pretty even. Like they do a good job of really like they always try to tell you, hey, if you need somebody, like we can talk to you. They always try to reach out, try to have a meeting like once a month, just to sit down, talk about something that isn't baseball. And I think that's the big thing. Is just for me, at least, it was always just with being in baseball, everyone always wants to talk about baseball. And so for me, it's nice to have people that don't always want to talk about baseball. And so, but I think when you first get there, like you don't really like think about like too much about the mental side. So they kind of just like show you what it is, like talk to you, say, hey, you can reach out. But I'm sure like, and then obviously there's guys that are playing, you know, a full season at by that time, and they're a little more likely to reach out and be like helpful to them, I think.
That is, man, do I ever relate to what you just said there. So I make my living as a professional stand-up comic, and comics are the same way, man. It's just like all they want to talk is comedy and the nuts and bolts of joke writing and all that. And
Mhm.
don't get me wrong, there's obviously some extreme value to having that kind of like, all in on something mentality. But you need to breathe a little, don't you? Like
Yeah.
just to not constantly be thinking about it, it just makes you a more well-rounded person and does help you actually like be more focused when it comes times to do so.
hmm But yeah, so I mean, like right now I'm at home, and like I have like I got to see like a lot of my close friends growing up from high school and even in college, and like they know like we like they talk to me for maybe 5 minutes about baseball, and then we won't talk about it for another week. Like they know like that it's not like something I'm like because they know a lot of people are already asking me, and so they also keep up with everything. So
Yeah,
they just want like to maybe know some things that they don't always see. And then for the most part, they try to keep it away from baseball just because I'm not asking them about their job. They don't want to necessarily ask
exactly.
my job.
Yeah.
So we kind of just talk about other things. And I think that's always good for me.
Nat Bailey Stadium, I know that most guys who have played there just sing its praises, right? It kind of is a special place when you're coming up in your development because I know a lot of guys have said it feels like their first real introduction to pro ball because so many people are there and
Mhm.
the team is so well supported. Uh, did you have a moment there that kind of stands out to you? Maybe a home run or your first time there, or heck, even the last time you took an at bat and kind of realized, you know what, with the way development has gone, maybe I'm not here again. Did you have a moment in Vancouver that stands out to you?
So I mean, I just remember like first getting there because going from low A to Dunedin, like it's always hot there, not as many fans. And then you go to Vancouver, everyone's like, be ready to play in front of some fans. I'm like, all right, so it can't. Like, you're probably just saying that because you're just the difference makes it seem like a lot. And then first game you get out there, and then the entire stadium's full. I mean, they get loud too, and I mean it's just I think that's just also what makes you want to keep moving up because you're like, it can only get better. Like it's going to get better than that. So
Yeah.
I think Vancouver was very cool in that aspect, and especially the stadium too. Like it's Nat Bailey's an older stadium, but it looks beautiful. It's so well kept, and so I think that also makes like everything look so much better too.
Do they talk to you about their plans for next season? Like it because it feels like your next step is obviously you're going to be in New Hampshire. Have they said anything like that to you, or is this still kind of like a question mark going into next year?
I don't think they like to tell guys their plans until
Right.
about spring training. And I think it's for the mental aspect of they don't want you to settle. Like they want you to keep working like you're still fighting. Like I'm still they want to keep my head in the spot where I'm still fighting for a job in New
Mhm.
Hampshire that I could still be sent back to Vancouver. And I have no idea. So I don't want to like take it as, oh, I'm for sure in double A. I don't have to work as hard. And so I think that's why they don't necessarily always want to tell guys their plans. And the other thing is like if you tell guys like, hey, we have a 2 year plan for you to be in the bigs. If guys start thinking about that, they're going to be worried that if they're not performing the way they are, they're not going to get there, or they're going to be just worried about everything about doing what they need to do. And I think if you just like tell guys to go play hard, everything works out better.
Yeah, development, man. It's like just not linear. And I totally get the idea of like keeping a guy out of his head from like, giving him like to use your example, a 2 year timeline. If he's not there in 2 years, that's a pretty big hit, right? Even though
Mhm.
he could be there in 6 months and it's just like one little tweak or whatever it is,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
You can kind of destroy a guy's confidence. Um, you hit a triple in Vancouver, and then you hit another one in the Arizona Fall League. Obviously, home runs are fun, and they're your goal. Do you like hitting triples? It's got to be feel pretty good to run out a three bagger
Uh,
every once in a while.
I think everybody else loves me hitting a triple more than I do, but but I do it because everyone sees me hit a triple, everyone starts laughing, everyone's cheering louder.
Right.
So I'm all for hitting triples if that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. I love that, man. I love that. So where did you grow up? You grew up in Iowa, right?
Yep.
What was your favorite team growing up?
I really never had a favorite baseball team. I
Interesting.
so
Were you a big
baseball.
baseball guy? Like, did you just watch a bunch of baseball, or were you more just enjoyed playing it?
I'm more just enjoyed playing it. Like I always loved baseball was always my favorite sport growing up, but I just like my parents never had a favorite team. Like so I it just never like watch a ton. We'd always watch like postseason baseball. I always watched like watching Derek Jeter as a kid, but like never really had like a favorite team, I guess.
Was your dad a big baseball guy? Is that kind of who got you into the game?
He's the same way. He liked I mean, I think for him, he just like wanted to get me into sports as a young kid, and so he was my coach from when I was 5 until I was 14 years old and started playing high school. But yeah, he was the same way. He loves the coaching it. He loved being around it with all the kids and all the families, but was never really big on like watching MLB baseball.
Yeah. Is baseball pretty big in Iowa, or does it get dwarfed pretty bad by football?
Um, I think baseball's definitely growing. I think in the last like 10 years, it's definitely starting to grow and people are really starting to enjoy it. I don't know if that's also because people are slowly going away from football, but
Yeah.
I do think that like, especially because now like a big time in Iowa to play baseball to try to get like recruited and go to the next level, you got to play fall baseball. And so I think that's kind of like some guys are like, I'd rather try to go play baseball than football.
I guess there being more infrastructure for it helps as well, eh?
hmm Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of programs out there that really help guys get their name out there to try to go play at the next level.
Tell me about your draft year. I'm just curious what that process looked like for you. You were taken in the seventh round, which isn't too shabby. Were you did you need to go through interviews and stuff like that with numerous teams? Did you know where you were going to be drafted? Did you know the Jays had interest in you?
I did a lot of like pre-draft interviews with the Blue Jays, and like I kind of knew it was going to be around the 5 to 10 range. It was going to be day two. It was going to be kind of mid to later day two. Um, and the funny part was like on draft day, like I personally got called from like the Dodgers and the Rays, both telling me, "Hey, we're going to take you with our next pick." And then we just have like the draft tracker up on on the TV in our in like my living room, and all of a sudden my name just pops up on the Blue Jays. And so I didn't talk to the Blue Jays at all during the draft, but they were talking to like my agent. And so
Right.
one of my agents knew I was on the call with the Blue Jays. The other agent was like, "Hey, I haven't talked to the Blue Jays at all today, so I have no idea what just happened." But then my other agent's like, "Hey, nope, I got it. I'm on the phone with them. We're working out all the details." And then that transition from the draft into like that first kind of month and a half of the season, I think it's like for me, and I know a lot of my other teammates think it's like one of the hardest months that you will play in baseball because it is hard to play a full college or high school season, take a month or two off, and then have to re-lock in for another month and a half of baseball.
Do they warn you about that going into it?
There's some guys like I had Trent Wallace was a teammate at Iowa. He was happy that I got drafted to the Blue Jays. I was happy to have him
Oh,
right
that's
after the
awesome. I
draft.
didn't know that. We've actually had Trenton on the show. Yeah, that's very cool.
So yeah, right after the draft, I'm texting Trent and he's like just to like ask him questions so I can be ready for it. And so yeah, I knew that like it was going to be mentally draining, but like I think that like month and a half of baseball was mentally tougher than an entire season.
That is so interesting. How was Dunedin to be in? Do the boys all stay in Dunedin? Are you in Clearwater? How does that work?
We all stayed in Dunedin. I think a big thing for us to like all stay up in spirits was we had there's a little bar right next to it called like House of Beer, and like a couple times a week we go there. We like sometimes we wouldn't even drink. They'd have like a football game on in there. We just go play darts, and I think just being around guys get that like that was a good way for us to all meet each other, kind of develop some relationships, and also
Yeah.
like get our minds off of baseball a little bit.
I can imagine that low A, that Florida State League just really sets kind of like a base for like friendships and relationships you're gonna have for the rest of your career.
Yeah, I mean, grinding through those dog days makes it like is that's when you really get close to everybody. So I think like that month and those relationships are the ones that are like hopefully are the ones that last a lifetime.
Well, Peyton, I want to thank you so very much for taking the time to come on the show here. Honestly, really appreciated you being on here and being so forthcoming with your answers. We're really rooting for you, buddy, and looking forward to seeing you in Double A and hopefully Triple A next year. I know I cover the Bisons in Buffalo from time to time, so I hope maybe mid next summer we can chat in person.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on. It was a great time.